Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/thewafflepress and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/thewafflepress. That was fun. That's our new opening for a while. You know why? Because we're the Waffle Press, and I'm your host, Diego Crespo. Also a host is Gina Aversa.
Yes, I am.
We haven't been on camera in a while together.
No, we haven't.
How's it feel?
Good. Yeah, we weren't seeing each other for a while.
No, yeah, I hated you.
Yeah.
Hey, Diego, help me out with this film shoot. Sure. You just couldn't click. It was like working on The Revenant.
You had me in a headlock.
Yeah, I was gonna beat up Gene, and they had to pull me off him. It was gonna be a mess, and so we just couldn't see each other. We definitely didn't record an Avengers Endgame spoiler review.
No.
Which you could also check out down below, along with other podcasts that we've been doing recently. Just fun stuff, Batman retrospective, yada yada. I almost knocked down the table. This is a new setup. Also.
Yeah, new studio.
Yeah. Thank you, OJ, who's off camera. If you're listening on audio, he is also providing audio, and we are very thankful for that because this is a very nice spot. Gene, what have you been watching recently? What's new in your life? Let's ease into this episode.
Oh, of course. Yeah. So just finishing an assembly edit of the short film Vera, which we worked on, which we hated each other for.
We did.
No, we didn't. That's coming along. Hopefully we'll have some things to show in the next couple of episodes. Put it out there, some stills, who knows. And then just been working. And just trying to get that short film. I've been watching, I saw Endgame, we talked about that.
We talked about Endgame, yeah.
I watched, recently, I saw last week, what was that? Blanking, damn it.
Movie?
Yeah.
TV show?
No, the movie that came out last weekend that wasn't Endgame.
Detective Pikachu.
I saw Detective Pikachu.
I still have not.
Okay, I loved it.
Give a quick spoiler-free thoughts, then we'll dive into the meat of the episode. We're going to be talking a little bit about Game of Thrones. We don't really talk TV here too often, but we kind of got to talk about what's going on there.
I've been watching it, unfortunately.
And then we're getting into Talk All Monsters and have a little fun MCU thing post-Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. What did you think?
So Detective... Yeah.
I don't know what that was.
Yeah, Detective Pikachu I thought was a pretty fun movie where you really felt immersed in that world of Pokemon. You know, I felt like I was 8 again collecting Pokemon because I love Pokemon. I had, most of the games of that generation. Mm-hmm. I was always a fan. I like Digimon too. I know you did a
Digimon. Yeah. Let's talk about Digimon episode with Sarah Sorrentino and Alex Fernandez from We Forgive You podcast. Check that out. Wonderful people. Sorry, Sarah, who had never seen an episode of Digimon in her life. And I forgot that was a very insular movie adaptation.
Yeah.
So apologies.
Happened.
I also love Pokemon.
Yeah, Pokemon's great. Yeah. But the film, I was really enjoying it. I don't think it's the best detective story for sure. It's a good Pokemon movie. It's kind of without spoiling anything, it's a little too obvious in some cliche, and some of its twists. But it's really I love Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. He's like a PG Deadpool. Mm-hmm. He just but
it doesn't get old.
Doesn't get old, no. Okay. Yeah, because he's a little Deadpool as Pikachu for sure. It's kind of his personality. But as a kind of the first this first delve into this Pokemon universe, I think it really worked. It introduced everyone, and just the way they designed the Pokemon and had the Pokemon, the way they it's not like Sonic where it's it bastardizes the original designs.
That's a whole other thing. I feel bad.
But I really appreciated just how everything was thought out and fleshed and added texture to the world. Like the Pikachus have fur. It's like Christe would have fur. And Pikachu, they're they're mice.
They're mice, yeah.
Electric mice.
I'm wary, admittedly, because I haven't been crazy about the look of the Pokemon. Okay. I don't mind the fur and stuff. I even want dinosaurs with the feathers by
right, because they do scientifically they do have feathers.
And that would be the scariest thing ever, and that would be
giant birds. But
there's something about the way that they look. Maybe I'll be won over by the film because that tends to happen. Sometimes I'm uneasy about something, I watch it, and I ended up loving it. I wasn't crazy about Alita leading up to it, and then I saw it, and I was like, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen.
And then you saw it like 4 times.
I saw it 4 times in theaters. I would have seen it 5 if it stuck around.
Yeah. And then
I just found out, sorry, really quick, I just found out it's still playing in a theater near me, but one of those dollar theaters.
Yeah.
I'm going next week.
There you go. We'll go with you. And hopefully it gets a Blu-ray release.
No announcement. What happened? This Disney now. What happened, Mr. Walt Disney?
Yeah.
Frozen head. Where is
Because I would think because it's Fox, and then I would think that. So actually, I've heard getting a little off topic, but I just want to say, I've heard that the Blu-ray releases for some of the Fox stuff are kind of seriously effed because the way their previews are done is just through like an online server.
I was hearing stuff like that too. It was Blu-ray Live or something.
Blu-ray
like that,
Live,
right?
yeah. So if you bought a Blu-ray Live, you were fucked.
Okay, I heard there might be issues with that, but I haven't heard anything like specific, so I'm concerned about that for sure. My 4K Blu-ray of The Predator is gonna have issues now. Now I'm bummed. The one person who bought the 4K.
The one person, that was you.
Sorry, world.
Get to the choppers.
Oh, no, I like it, but even I'm like, that line's too much. But let's talk about what else we've both been watching.
Mm-hmm.
Game of Thrones, the final season. Shout out to my former co-host and cohort who has also been watching it, Mighty Sophia on Twitter and YouTube, Emily Sophia. I think I know why the seasons got bad at a certain point, because we stopped reviewing it together.
Oh.
I'm just saying, there's a trend. There's a quality trend. We don't talk about it.
Exactly.
The seasons went down, so we apologize.
Did you like?
I actually don't know.
Oh, okay.
I think we both liked The Long Night, the Battle of Winterfell episode. That will look amazing on a Blu-ray, mark my words. If you watch it on streaming, it was probably hard to see. That's okay. But this season of Game of Thrones, what do you think? Really quick, just like in 30 seconds, what are your thoughts on it?
It's entertaining. Okay, yeah, sure. It's entertaining, but when you really it's fun to watch. It's been fun to watch like in groups or like going to a friend's house and drinking, and as a group experience, it's fun. But when I think about it, when it comes off and I go home, sit in my bed late night, and I'm like, that was pretty shitty. Like when I really think about some of the episodes, I'm like, that was dumb. Like the way these characters act and the way they're written. And like it's cool to see a bunch of Dothraki like throw themselves at the White Walkers, but then I was like, but why? That makes no sense. Like, what was the point of that? I mean, that's a cool visual where and I think that goes back to what you were. I think one of your tweet was saying like it's like it's directed so well, but then it's like the writing does no one any favors.
And like really, it's the 2 battle episodes or I guess the second one. That just happened this week. Was more of a massacre episode.
Oh yeah, it's not a battle.
Like impeccable directing. Like the visuals are so clear and like specific about what they're trying to like convey across to the audience. And I really like the fantasy imagery of the Long Night. That battle. Like the Dothraki. Like did they just all die? Like no, they didn't. But they don't have a point of view character anymore.
No.
So they might as well have been dead. For seasons. But like. The art direction, everything in that episode, I was just like, wow, this is all Game of Thrones ever going to give me at this point. And I am happy that I was able to detach after that. Because it made me cheer. It made me cheer some more.
I wish that was the finale.
I didn't cry or anything like that, but like, this is spoilers for Game of Thrones. Oh, have you seen Game of Thrones? Can I spoil it for you? Do you care?
Go for it.
Okay. Arya, when she gets the Night King, I was like, this is why I watch TV and movies. This is that experience of just sheer like overwhelming joy, and that should have kind of been the ending. So I think there's a couple problems. Not because I needed the traditional fantasy ending, because Game of Thrones is anything but traditional.
Right.
It's an overall traditional arc. But now they're kind of subverting it with the end. Like, oh, well, now the people have to deal with each other. I kind of like that idea.
If it was executed better.
Also, shout out to my friend Esther Rosenfeld, who called this on the podcast a stark contrast with Soren Howe as well. Good podcast that you should all listen to. I also guested on the Long Night episode. Esther called the first 2 episodes would be about dealing with the Night King. The next 2 would be about Cersei. The last one would be about Jon versus Dany. Guess what the fuck happened this season?
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, man, that's really it's can't believe how predictable this show has become. It's pretty sad.
It's predictable, but it's also just that the choices between the characters. This was a show about actions and consequences, and about how like all these hierarchies, like they've kind of like the Iron Throne isn't something that we should be like, I want this person, I want this person. It's fun to get into that, but it's really about how these monarchies destroyed Westeros.
Right.
And ironically, Dany, who is pivoted to the main villain of the show, kind of, like, she's a white savior trope, but that's like the point of the character. The show started leaning away from her villainous like path that the books kind of plant better, and in her like not conquest, because like her revolution in Essos, right across the sea, that's kind of what she thought she'd be doing in Westeros, because she had no attachment to it. And I really like the idea of all of this. I like the ideas that they have in the entire final season, but like when they're going through it all, it just feels like here's a beat, here's a beat, here's a beat. We don't get to sit with the characters anymore. They just defeated death.
Yeah,
in the middle of the season. That's huge.
Yeah, there's so like things are just happening. There's no padding in between it, and it would really help if it had breathing room.
Yeah.
I would say in between, like they have that episode, but like the right after the Night King. That's the consequences of that. Is there winter anymore? And
yeah, season 7 ends with winter falling in King's Landing. Like,
yeah,
Jaime's leaving, and the first like bout of snow falls in his hand, and it just like stopped. I don't understand the choices that are being made. And
it feels really rushed.
The Dans, I want to go to bat for them for a second. I don't think they're perfect, but the first 4 seasons, and even season 6, I love season 6. Now that one gets some flack too.
Yeah.
They are clearly talented enough to have given us spectacular seasons of television. Maybe they're not all perfect, but there's a reason Game of Thrones is the cultural event phenomenon that it is right now. And it's not a mistake. People love these characters and love these stories. I don't know if they love them anymore, but they certainly did for a long time. And I'm more thankful, because I'm going to get really mean right now. I'm more thankful for the positives that have come out of this show than the negatives that I'm feeling towards the end of the series itself. I'm very thankful. I got a lot of my friends into this show because I was like, you guys need to watch it. And I don't regret a thing about that. But
it was a good experience.
Yeah.
Good ride.
It's a great ride.
Now it's crashing.
It's crashing. Like, imagine if like this is how your show ends. This is how your cultural phenomenon ends, and then you get announced that you're doing the next Star Wars trilogy.
Oh god.
The morning after like the least like beloved episode they've ever done, which is like saying something. I thought it was pretty good, but not for writing. So here's the thing. I think because George R. R. Martin is a writer who discusses. He's more of a gardener than like an architect. Architects are like more blueprint, like they have to have every little plot point beat, and then they connect it in between the two.
Right.
There are writers that do both, and like some people do one or the other, or like hop back and forth. Writing is nebulous, but he's described himself as such, as a gardener who like, here's the ideas, I'm going to see where these characters and where these stories go, and I'm going to let my garden bloom. If need be, he's going to be building a bigger garden around it. And
cutting out the weeds.
Pulling out the weeds, like that. Like he's not a perfect writer either, but
right.
He's someone who's not having to bend over backwards to fit characters into holes they might not fit into. Or even someone like Dany, who her heel turn to villainy, I think could work. It's just, it's too much, man.
Like, right.
It's so much happening that it doesn't feel natural.
I still don't understand that scene, the logic behind it, because I was watching the behind the scenes, which you hate, which is them just repeating what goes on in the episodes.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh yeah, this happens, and then this happens.
No,
I hope you enjoyed it.
One, I'll put it in the episode, is this, and it's going to be the part where one of the Dans goes like, well, Dany kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet. Like, she forgot about the fleet. She
forgot.
has the whole sky.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever.
But, back to the Dans with just how they, in the episodes, like, when they're explaining, like, oh, she sees the Red Keep, and the behind the scenes thing, I'm like, and then she decides to massacre the whole city. She was almost gonna do it, but it's like, why? Why would you lose her? Like, cool, just the red kid. Like, there's no
I'm gonna actually defend the ideas of this again.
Okay.
Not the execution at all.
Right, because the
Apart from the filmmaking. Miguel Sapochnik, innocent.
Okay.
Someone scoop him up on one of them Star Wars movies if they're gonna make this.
Right. I mean, it was well directed.
So Danny's whole thing is that she's been losing everyone close to her. Again, this has not been organic, and in fact, I actually think it's been quite like season 5 level miserable, where everything's just so like depressing. Everyone's getting murdered or raped or whatever. Thankfully, not too bad this season. But in terms of like Danny's like surrounding council, they've all been like murdered or like assassinated or something like that. But it's all happening at such a fast pace that it's like, well, yeah, they're just trying to drive her crazy. Like, it doesn't feel like an organic route from where she was a couple seasons ago.
Right.
Even last season, really. Or I guess killing the Tarly.
She was doing pretty well.
I mean, she definitely had like seeds planted, but the way they play it in the series is just like,
she conquered.
Targaryens be crazy. That's what people keep saying in this show.
There's no, for her character, there's no like meat and potatoes to like have that depth there. Yeah. And she was doing well. She conquered Winterfell. She made an alliance, I guess. She was dating her nephew.
That's it.
I
mean, the fact that like there's so many balls in the air that there's so much else to talk about this season. We're gonna move on because this is not the point of the episode.
Sorry.
No. I'm glad because I haven't really had a chance to talk about this with a lot of people. There's so many balls in the air that we can't really touch them like all right now. We can't like talk about them in depth because there's just it's too much happening. I think I'll try to figure something out for like a finale situation. We'll do something eventually, I think, to talk about the series looking back.
There's a lot to talk about.
But I'm not disappointed because I loved the Long Night, the Battle of Winterfell episode so much that allowed me to just let go.
Right.
That this is a series for me now. These next 3 could have been dumpster fires, and it turns out they kind of have been. Although, again, the last episode I thought was just phenomenally
right.
That I've been able to let go entirely. And here's what I will say, too.
Okay.
About the finale.
Whatever it is.
This is the episode the Dans have been building towards, or have been attempting to build towards, because this is the ending that George R. R. Martin wrote. Now, back to the thing about him being the gardener. He's also... It's not a mistake that it's taking him this long to write the next couple books. I think it will also be more than 2 more books, just because the story's gotten so big and he's a very detailed writer. He said that this is the ending that he intended, and I believe him when he said it. I don't believe he didn't lie to them. I don't think he even intended to like change anything. I think it's just not going to be the ending that he's going to get to because his story's grown in such a different capacity.
Right.
And so when the Dan said that, I think what they actually should have done is completely avoided his ending because I think the big problem is just that they don't fit. The characters that as they were building them up in these previous seasons don't fit into these.
No, they're not the same characters for that particular plot. It kind of reminds me of like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, where the book and the movie had like almost had a different ending. Where he ends up with knives, and they were going to do that, and then, they knew the ending of the graphic novel, but they were like, "Oh, we could go either way."
I think it actually.
I don't know if you've seen that alternate ending.
I haven't seen the alternate ending, but I will say I'm glad that the movie ended the way it did, and I would also have been okay if he didn't end up with anyone at the end. But like, not because I love Scott Pilgrim. And that character is an asshole, but I like him too.
He learns not to be an asshole?
He learns not to be an asshole. That's the whole thing. Yeah. But like, that he just... They grow by themselves and like it maybe hints at something down the line.
Right.
And same thing for the show. Like it doesn't... I'm not upset because it's not like, well, I didn't get the ending I wanted. Like I don't need them to burn down the Iron Throne. I didn't need the White Walkers to like kill everyone or whatever, I think it would have helped them plot everything out if it was the White Walker threat that bloomed into the last couple episodes too, but I don't know. I think everything just feels so like in its little corner. Like we have to wrap this up and this up. It's like it's kind of a bust.
Yeah,
and that's too bad. But
they're all like these separate side quests.
Oh my god, yeah. That's exactly it. But that's Game of Thrones. I'm not feeling it, but we'll talk about it some more next time. Gene, what else you got going on? Anything else you've seen? You were in Veep. Can I talk about that?
Veep.
Can I talk
Yeah, I
about
was in Veep. Yeah, I'm in the scene where Jonah has the birth certificate. I'm one of the photographers, so look for me there when I do background.
On that note, we're going to talk about a Godzilla movie. 2 Godzilla movies. Gene and I do this monster podcast, a kaiju podcast called Talk All Monsters. We have not been able to do it in a while, just our schedules and everything. So we're going to do it right now in the middle of this episode. Gene, Godzilla, 1954. Masterpiece, yes or no?
Yes, the Japanese version of it is a masterpiece.
Not the English version. It's very important that everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Directly with the cameras to clarify that.
The English version, they take a lot of the film's meaningful messages out. There are several scenes that are not in the English version where they take out a lot of commentary on nuclear war. It's still kind of in there, but it doesn't have. It's not as potent.
Yeah, it's just like another disaster.
Right, it's just another disaster. There's a scene with a mother and a child where Godzilla is destroying Tokyo and he's spraying all the radiation, and then she's telling the child not to cry. And then the child's still crying. And then she goes, we're going to be with our dad now. And it's like they cut that out in the American version. Well, of course, because of the U.S.'s role in World War II. But and also just kind of the way it's edited, it's from an American perspective of the Raymond Burr character, whose name's Steve Martin. Steve Martin, as in the actor, who isn't born yet, so still kind of works. A funny thing in the 1985 Godzilla, which is kind of a sequel to this version, they never call that character Steve Martin. They just call him Mr. Martin, or I believe he's a senator, so they just call him Senator Martin. They never call him Steve. Pretty wise choice.
That's actually very funny. Have you ever seen Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid?
I think I know of it.
Okay, so the actual Steve Martin is. They filmed like a side movie with him, and then just inserted a lot of like classic film noir around it, and made like a whole new narrative. And it's a great love letter to classic film noir, and just gut-bustingly hilarious to see like how they like shoved him in between scenes, and it feels like pretty organic, even though it's a parody. It's also like a loving letter. It's great.
Yeah.
So that just made me think of that. Like they played that insertion like completely straight.
Right. Yeah. Because it's not that Raymond Burr's a bad actor. It's just he doesn't the way
he doesn't belong in the movie.
He doesn't belong in the movie.
It's not about America. It's about what we did to a country.
Yeah. Exactly. And it doesn't work. And it's like the way they cut around the scenes is just awful. In itself, and just the American's perspective, it's not about that. It's not a movie that lends itself to that, and it's probably in my top 5 movies of all time. It's one of my favorites. When I was a kid, I believe I probably saw the American one first, but you're a kid, you don't have as much judgment.
You're an idiot.
Kids
are idiots.
Right, but it made me really fall in love with this character and just the way that he's this monster. I would say when I first watched it, a little bit tragic, I would say, because he's like the last of its kind, and it's it's just like the way they get rid of the monster. They're this country where it's like they were subjected to this terrible weapon, and to defeat this monster that has he's powered by nuclear war. They essentially have to create like another weapon, which is the oxygen destroyer, and it's almost like it's a little ironic that it's almost like some of the characters that have been through this experience have to become like the monster they created, and they have to destroy this other creature, which is just kind of it's a monster. It doesn't have any kind of what is it going to do besides destroy, and just the way that the themes of this film still relevant, I would say, especially now. And it's certainly, it still holds up. The Japanese version is just great. And then as a drama, I think it's very underappreciated as well, as it's a great monster movie. But like the drama of it was the original Serizawa, how he's kind of this outcast. Just how he's outcast. I think it's it's a brilliant film.
Well said. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and we're talking about Shin Godzilla and a fun little way of wrapping up our time with the MCU in Phase 3.
Hi, this is Gene Aversa. I am here with Greg Baldwin. voice actor of many great characters.
I thank you. I thank you.
And we're at Ontario Comic-Con Revolution.
Revolution in
Yes.
Ontario, California.
How are you doing today, Greg?
Today is the first day that I have cosplayed Uncle Iroh. And I have wanted to do this for the moment I started attending cons. Because I share a certain similarities with Uncle Iroh. And it's going great. I'm loving wearing this costume. What I always wanted to happen, I was walking around the big hall over there, and I wanted to originally, I just want to cosplay my character. I thought that would be fun. And I'm doing just that. I'm walking around just like a cosplay person, just walking around, and I hear someone say, "Hey, Uncle Iroh." Oh, hello. And I hear behind me somebody goes, "That is Uncle Iroh." So my work here is done. That's why I wanted the costume, and I've got I had that moment.
Of course, yeah, I love it. It came out great. How's it been interacting with some of the fans that just really grew up with this character of Uncle Iroh?
The fans, I always knew from the moment I was reading, and again, I was a fan of the show before I was Uncle Iroh because Mako Iromatsu was the original Iroh. But I always knew it was a beautiful character, had beautiful things to say, beautifully written. But it wasn't until I started coming to these cons that I realized the impact that Iroh had. I'm literally a generation. He is literally, I joked to my wife the other day, she said, "Greg, take out the trash." Take out the trash. I am the beloved father figure to an entire generation. She's like, yeah, I took out the trash. But the character has impacted people's lives. People, time and again, they will come up to me and they'll say, "Oh man, Uncle Iroh, I was in a high school and this happened and my girlfriend broke up with me, or there was this tragedy and Iroh said this wise thing and made me feel better." And I hear that again and again and again. And I realized this character had a real impact on people's lives. He's not just an entertaining cartoon that 20 minutes later is done. This character has impact. And I'm honored and humbled that I get to do this.
Yeah, I think he's a meaningful character, and he's wise, and he's taught young kids who are now adults many lessons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, there's a meme I've seen. It's like be the person Uncle Iroh knows you are. And I love that meme, and it even applies to myself sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, as I said, I'll be, hey, Greg, when Uncle Iroh tweets that, maybe you need to think before you do that. What would Iroh do? So it's been, yes, Iroh helps me as well in my day-to-day living. He's a wise. Honestly, you literally could take the sayings of Iroh and you could almost build a religion around it. So yeah, it's been an honor to play such an impactful character.
Yeah.
I hope you liked that clip of whatever it was that I put there. I'm sure it was great. You know what else is great? Shin Godzilla. Where's Godzilla's Shin?
Shin Godzilla, which translates to True Godzilla, roughly in Japan, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is an incredible film, and I've never ceased to be amazed by it. I didn't even know it existed until Gene told me about it. And you're a bigger Godzilla fan than I am, but I love Godzilla too. And we have an episode on the show where we debate the merits of Kong versus Godzilla in the
was a
most
good debate.
film outings.
Yeah.
Very proud episode. I'm very, very proud of that. And I was skeptical when I heard how much I like Shin Godzilla. I'm like, well, Gene doesn't like 2014 Godzilla. How much am I going to like?
Yeah.
When I saw it, and I was like, this is fantastic. What are your thoughts on Shin Godzilla?
Okay, so I really enjoy Shin Godzilla. To clarify, I don't dislike the 2014 Godzilla. I'm just a little disappointed with it at times.
Okay.
And I think I probably figured it out a few months ago, where it feels like I think the main thing with 2014 Godzilla, besides choices I don't agree with and how it uses Godzilla as kind of a Jaws movie monster, is it feels very like the American Godzilla of 1954, where it feels like it's too much from an American perspective, or just from Eastern perspective, I guess, since Gareth Edwards is English, where it doesn't feel like because I feel like culturally Godzilla is from Japan. It's a very Japanese monster. The way that the monster is created is from nuclear war, and the best perspective is from probably anyone of that culture I would say a bit.
I think that's why, apart from Bryan Cranston's character, Dr. Serizawa, seems to be everyone should be like, well, they were really good though. Like,
Yeah.
straight up do not like.
Right. Yeah.
I think because just like even subconsciously we all understand that, but at this point, if you like have ever seen a Godzilla film, you know?
Exactly. And I think it's just I don't think 2014 is a bad movie by any means. It feels like it kind of suffers from a bit of its American perspective at times, and the way they kind of gloss over a lot of heavy themes of nuclear war. I mean, the watch scene is great with Serizawa, where he shows the general the watch, but there isn't really too much after that. And the way that they talked about it in interviews was almost like they were going to do some commentary on the Fukushima disaster, but they didn't really. I mean, there are certainly shades of
I
it.
think I know why that is too.
Right.
This is one of those films that was apparently heavily rewritten when they. This happens a lot in America, by the way, for people that aren't aware of this. If you're going to use a lot of like military hardware in your film, like whatever, you know what I'm talking about now.
Yeah.
The U.S. government and the military has to kind of sign off on everything,
Yeah.
and they want to make it so like the U.S. is the good guys, and with Godzilla,
They're
that's not the case.
Nope.
And I think the film still gets away with it, but this is where you kind of have to like leave it more to interpretation than anything. And I do not think it's as much as I love that film. I love 2014 Godzilla. That's a top 3 Godzilla film for me. But like that is a totally valid criticism.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
But that also to before we cut back to Shin, that's also kind of why I love it so much because the U.S. government is useless in that film.
Oh yeah,
They're completely useless. And I think because Gareth Edwards is also a huge Godzilla fan, I think he understood that. So even though he kind of had to like bend backwards to make it work, I think it still does work. Because like the only important aspect of the U.S. military thing is that Ford is trying to get back to his family.
Yeah.
Taylor Johnson's character is trying to get back to his family. And the most like impact they have is they just make things worse. They essentially create the Mutos, I believe, right?
Well,
Nuclear war or near the nuclear.
No, I mean like the thing at the beginning is kind of unleashes the Mewtwo's in a way. They help catalyst. Yeah, there's a catalyst of this whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just make things worse, and so I think that's great. Like, it's like he just wants to get back to his family, and he's like, oh no, I gotta stop a nuclear bomb from going off in San Francisco. Like, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah.
So I like that bit a lot, and then of course the scale and everything.
Oh yeah.
Godzilla uses like has really powerful images and like dictating scale to the audience. You know, like there's that shot when he first released his radioactive like breath. And it's just like the most devastating it's ever appeared on screen.
Yeah, I love that scene where his mouth opens and just you
like
see
aggressive.
You see the destruction of what nuclear anything does, just destroys.
Yeah. There's also a shot. I think this is the big thing why I love Shin Godzilla so much too. It's horrifying. Like in the way that Godzilla hasn't been since the first film.
Oh yeah.
When he crawls out of the water and he's making landfall, the tail is like creepy, but like you don't get a good sense of it, and that makes it even scarier. When he's like waddling through land, he doesn't have arms yet, and it's just like this weird gyrating thing. I'll see if I can put a clip. I'll put it right here if I do. And it's just like blood and water like flooding out of its gills, and it's like. It looks insane. Like I've never seen something so disturbing.
Yeah,
in that capacity. That I was like, what movie am I watching? This is awesome.
I would say it's one of the scarier Godzilla designs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because I think Godzilla probably, he's scary in the original. The scenes where with that reporter, and it's just when they're in the tower, and it's just he's crushing that reporter with everyone on. He's pretty terrifying in the original, and this Shin Godzilla really takes him back to being this like pretty terrifying monster.
Yeah. I mean, like that's the thing about kaiju movies. Like, they're awesome in action and stuff like that. That's obviously my favorite stuff in Kong as well. But these are giant monsters, and not all of them are here to like help people. In this new MonsterVerse, I don't think that's even like a thing, which I also like.
Yeah,
and that makes them horrifying. We don't matter to them at all.
Right.
That's the scariest thing like ever. It's scarier than anything else. I also really like that it's kind of it reminded me of Contagion a lot. Like it's kind of almost an outbreak movie.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, where it's just the threat of this monster just like just cripples this entire city or the whole country pretty much.
And how everyone kind of has to work together. Like, it has a very positive message about people putting aside the differences to, like, actually help one another and uplift one another.
And I was going to say the most powerful thing about the movie is the critique on, like, bureaucracy. Because then that goes back to the way the Fukushima disaster was hired. It was just, like, no one had any idea, really, of how to help people out and, like, how to, you know, if you have, like, all this, like, nuclear material, they didn't really have, you know, the way the movie kind of critiques the government is like it's really meaningful in just how the events unfolded, and I found that like really powerful because I feel like Godzilla is ultimately like a critique on nuclear, just the way the whole world is kind of stuck on nuclear arms and nuclear, just anything nuclear, and how like devastating it could be. It's great, it's a really just a thoughtful film.
Yeah, I cannot recommend, obviously, the first Godzilla enough, but like Shin Godzilla, please. I know a lot of people haven't seen it. It's fantastic. It deserves your time and money. And I won't even say the ending. The ending feels like it leaves it open for a sequel, and I heard they canceled the trilogy.
Yeah,
apparently that's not the case, though. Apparently they just never. That made the news waves over there, and when we translated it, got worse apparently, because America.
Yeah.
But no, apparently it was supposed to be a standalone the whole time. And that makes me feel better about it. That would have been a bummer if it was like, no, we're canceling this for the shared universe. They are doing a total shared universe now.
It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, if big shoes to fill now, like Jesus, you're coming
better than
the best thing ever.
Yeah, I've heard King of the Monsters is great. So.
Oh yeah, that too. I am ecstatic about that, and I thought I was gonna miss it that weekend because I'm busy that weekend, or Memorial Day weekend. I thought it came out then. It comes out a week after, and I'm just like, yes,
yeah, it's amazing.
I'm so excited. That's IMAX day one for me. And now the last topic of the show is kind of a fun one. Gene and I shared our thoughts on Endgame. We're gonna leave it at that. What we wanted to do at this time was just kind of riff back and forth about well, do you think that maybe there should have been another movie in here with another character, or another movie for another character? Maybe change some things up here and there, whatever, everything is what it is. But, we're generally fans of the franchise, and Phase 3 feels like the end. We're saying goodbye to a lot of characters, and so we're going to take this time to do what we haven't done in a while, and we're doing pitch a movie, except this time to each other. Gene, would you like to go first? Because I actually don't know what Marvel movie or what Marvel character you wanted to pitch.
Yeah, I would have really liked, and I know it's been it was talked about and probably had some people behind it, the War Machine spinoff.
Yes.
I thought that would have been pretty perfect, probably around probably before Iron Man 3, maybe in the beginning of Phase 2. Which Phase 2 kicks off with Iron Man 3. So maybe like before Iron Man 3, there's a War Machine spinoff, and it really kind of gives you maybe just the send off of the what were the rings that were the 10 rings, send off to those.
Well, they're
plot line
of Iron Man 3.
Yeah, they are, but more of like what happened to that particular sect of like terrorists, what happened to them, and you could explore that. And the way the War Machine, I think they wanted to do him on the run, so like you have something like The Fugitive, but with the War Machine armor.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah, and if you have like elements like maybe he goes to jail, so he's in like the raft or something, and then you could kind of have the Armor Wars storyline from where people are kind of. Well, they kind of did that in Iron Man 2, but not really with the Justin Hammer robots, where it's like people are kind of stealing, maybe expand on that, they're stealing his armor, the designs and stuff, and War Machine, he has to get out of jail, track him down, stuff like that, and like the raft, the Wardens are like I forgot what they're called in the comics, the Wardens are kind of, they're in the Iron Man-esque armor, I forgot what they were called, but like if you have something like that, really explores the just like the warfare of and like the danger all the Iron Man suits do, and maybe he's trying to like take them back for Tony. That would have been interesting while he's on the run. Maybe like from another character, like Geez, like Crimson Dynamo or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Crimson Dynamo's kind of.
It's kind of Whiplash, yeah.
They kind of mix them in Iron Man 2 a little bit. I understand the mixed reception of that film.
Yeah.
That's not something I'm a fan of in that film. So even I'm like,
yeah, I felt
need a little work.
Yeah, and I felt like that would have maybe just like it's a bit more serious in tone. Like definitely not R rated because yeah, you don't really need that.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe just something like a little more Zero Dark 30 without being overly violent.
No, okay, without Mark Bull writing.
But yeah, without waterboarding or something.
Yeah. I love Don Cheadle and
Oh yeah,
Rhodes, War Machine. That's a great character.
War Machine story.
His stuff in Age of Ultron is adorable and awesome when he gets to kick ass in third act.
Yeah.
And Iron Man 3 is the best Iron Man movie for a lot of reasons, but also because it turns into a buddy cop drama for the last third of it. For me, this might be a little controversial. I'm a huge fan of Spider-Man: Homecoming. There are genuine issues with that movie, and it doesn't affect my viewing of it as a standalone picture. I love it as a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
So in the universe around it kind of brings me down on it, but that's not the film's fault. I want to take that clear. I've made it clear also that I'm not a fan of the direction of taking him to Europe immediately after his first movie. Yes, the Avengers movies happened, but I'm not talking about those.
Yeah.
I think you needed one more Spider-Man movie before that.
Yeah.
Because you have the opportunity to explore this character in high school for a trilogy of movies, which apparently they intend to do. But his middle movie's now him not in high school, and the first movie ends with him making the declaration that he's going to fight for the little guy in New York. Again, I understand the Avengers happened.
Right.
Stuff went down. I don't care. I'm talking about this character's narrative purpose in this universe and in their own story. So what I think is that Spider-Man needed to go to prom. Or, because we just had Homecoming, he didn't really spend too much time there. Instead of
He
prom,
left.
Yeah. Like, how do you not have a fight on the dance floor with Shocker and Vulture, or like in Coney Island? I mean, like, this is again little issues for me.
I don't know. I don't think. I mean, I kind of relate to him. Didn't go to prom either, so Spider-Man didn't.
But here's what, you know what? Not prom. I apologize. This needed to be a musical theater movie.
Oh God.
They needed to have Mysterio still. Mysterio is a great villain, and they needed to make him a lackluster, failed rock star. Same costume and everything. He uses like illusions and everything like that in his like performances on the stage, right? But something I don't have it all worked out yet, but it needed to be a borderline musical comedy superhero movie about like Spider-Man coming to terms with his place in New York finally. Like, what do the people think of Spider-Man? You know, we get a little bit of that in Homecoming, but it ends up being a story about like it is kind of inspired by John Hughes, like I said, where he's like he wants to impress the cool kids who are the Avengers in this universe, and then he decides he has his own stuff to worry about. That's a great arc. So now I want to see like, well, what is Spider-Man about? What does Peter Parker want in this universe? You know, I don't need to see Uncle Ben all the time.
Right.
I would like to see a picture or something at least.
Yeah, just
I want to know what drives this Peter Parker, because as much as I like Tom Holland and the character, like I love Tom Holland as Peter Parker, I don't know what he wants.
Wants to be an Avenger.
He wants to be an Avenger, and that's fine. I can live with that. You know. But Spider-Man, what do you don't put him in the Avengers? You're money on the table, you know.
Yeah, I'm glad that from Far From Home you kind of get that his motivations in the trailer. He just wants to be with the chick he likes.
Yeah. You know what?
That's pretty. That's a motivation. He just wants to be normal, I guess.
So okay, that's my pitch.
Yeah.
Peter Parker is trying to impress MJ. He realized that he has feelings for her now.
Which is still Zendaya.
Of course.
Right.
She didn't get nearly enough to do in the first one. She's so good. And so him and Ned start trying out for this musical theater play, and Zendaya is directing it though. They think she's gonna star in it, and she's like, no, like that's not my thing. Like I don't want to be in front of people. Like it's ridiculous. Why would she want to be in front?
And that's
of people?
a very like good like play on her character, who's an actress in the comics.
Yeah,
there
I
you go.
definitely intended that when I said it.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. You did.
Yeah. Employer says. And you know, and then you can kind of have like some fun stuff because you clearly want to build up Sinister Six, you know. And so I think it'd be really fun if this was something that covered an entire school year.
Okay.
So each act, it's a 4-act movie instead of a 3-act movie.
Yeah.
Each one takes place in different time periods. So going back to school, yeah, it was crazy last year. Remember that time I fought my girlfriend's dad? Ooh, it was crazy. He's trying out for the play. Okay, that's like the first act. That's the stuff there. And then you have Mysterio, who's a failed magician, special effects expert,
Illusionist.
and a failed rock star.
Yeah.
All right, and then you start setting it up, and then you get to see Spider-Man in the winter, something we haven't seen in the movies before.
Yeah.
That'd be a cool setting. Like, what's that even do? Like, poor little kid's like freezing out there, and he's got to stop crying with supervillains? That's nuts. And so you could have like maybe Mysterio is like running a gang with like the Prowler.
All the B-list villains.
All the B-list ones, you know. I'd love to see Spot, but that one might be like. Maybe they don't want to jump too into like the crazy stuff yet.
Right.
Spot.
They might do a Sony spin-off of this one.
Wait, is that really?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
They're doing one of friggin' Morbius.
They're not touching my fictional homecoming.
Okay,
sequel.
sorry.
It's okay. And so each act we get to see like these characters spend more time together while Peter's struggling to like deal with his relationship and Spider-Man, and like he's trying to like get MJ, because MJ makes it very clear in the first film that she's closed off from people, right?
Yeah.
But she's got her own stuff going on. She plays it cool. She's a doer, not a talker, right? And so like that'd be also kind of funny to see like the characters react to like, well, you're directing a place. It's like, oh yeah, I love like Tarkovsky and shit. I love Broadway, and they're all just like, whoa, what? Like she doesn't talk to us about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But then you get more into our home life and stuff like that. I don't think you need to go full on like asshole dad like in other iterations.
Like the same Raimi.
Yeah, maybe she's got other stuff going on too that makes it a little harder. You know, maybe for some reason she's like, why is she reserved? You know, like why does Peter like her? What's their connection? You know, and there's a telling moment in the end of Homecoming when MJ looks at Peter when he's walking away. Like, you know, she's busting his balls, but like, oh yeah, no, she likes him. Like, and from that moment, it's like very clear that yeah, they have a connection. And I want to explore that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then also you got to follow up. Aunt May knows that Peter Parker's Spider-Man now. What does that do to that relationship? Because it seems like they're pretty cool, and depending on how they play it, we'll see if I'm cool with it. I'm just one guy. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying I would not make her cool with it. I would make it very hard for him to be Spider-Man for the first half of the movie.
Right, because it goes back to all the Uncle Ben stuff.
Yeah. So see, you can still touch on that, make it organic in a fun way. And so it's a very light movie up until the halfway point when Mysterio starts like he's trying to get jobs like at schools or whatever. Right? He's just trying to get by, but he starts using like all of his illusions, everything he has like in his wardrobe and closet to be able to like start pulling off heists. And so like the cops are like, what is this, like a Doctor Strange situation? Like what is that? Like and no one knows. And he's like, really, it's just a hack like special effects guy with a guitar. And so he has a guitar in my version, obviously, because it's a musical.
Okay. Was there a time limit to this?
No. I'm gonna just wrap up here because I've been going on too long. I apologize. But I just think that would be a lot of fun to go full. Spider-Man 3 kind of plays like a musical at times, and I know it's a movie.
You can make a musical of Spider-Man 3.
I think Spider-Man needs to be in a musical.
Yeah.
I think that's just what needs to happen. So yeah, that's my whole thing. Just one movie before he goes to Europe. Like, please, I want to get this. I want to know what drives these people before they start driving other parts of the world. That's all I want.
That's a really tough fish for me.
No, I'm sorry.
How many musical numbers is there?
Oh, there's got to be at least 5.
Okay, there's 5. Okay.
See, one in between each act.
Okay.
One to open the film, one at the end of Act 1, the end of Act 2, end of Act 3, end of Act 4.
Can you do it where there's no opening for it?
Okay, then I have to have one at the beginning of Act 4 and the end of Act 4.
Okay, yeah. Then I would buy it.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
I mean, action movies are like musicals. I think Joss Whedon once said, who I know is like canceled and stuff right now, but just hear me out.
Yeah. Guys, freaking.
Musicals and action movies at their best are just about people expressing emotions. In action, it tends to be anger.
Yeah.
In musicals, it's just this build up tension. They just have to sing everything.
Yeah.
You know? How has that not been in a superhero movie?
Right. I mean, it's in an action movie, Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom opens up to the musical number.
Yeah.
There you go. If it's not a straight up musical, it'll just have musical numbers.
Anything goes.
Yeah. You know what? Here's the last thing I'll touch on that.
Oh, God.
I
Okay.
I swear here.
Okay.
The musical that they're trying to do is just musical homage sequences from other movies. There you go.
Okay.
That's it. That's
So
what
there's
all.
anything goes.
Anything goes will be in there.
Okay.
And yeah. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll end up tweeting about this at some point.
You'll end up, yeah.
It will probably not leave my brain.
No,
I apologize. So.
Just write it. Yeah.
I think that's it for us in this episode. Gene, you have anything else you want to touch on really quick before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, this was fun. First episode in the new studio. I'm really happy.
Yeah, as am I. I apologize for the long pitch. Thank you to OJ and Hopo Productions. Thank you to the cameras for staying on. I really appreciate it. And thank you to Gene. Gene, plugs. What do you got going on?
Yes, you could find me on Instagram and Twitter, Gene9892. And you could look for any film stuff I have for my short film.
Okay. By the time this is up, the Waffle Press will also have its Instagram account running. So links down below to that. Also, Patreon, which, if you'd be so kind, check that out and donate. Help us flourish and continue to thrive, because we really like doing this, and I like to be able to put more time aside to keep doing it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
SoundCloud, iTunes, other links down below. Just check them all out. Me, the Diego Crespo on Twitter, also that. And that's it. That's all I got for the week. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional.